Well, this was a book that I was inspired to write with 11 of my gal pals because I've been in business for many years, right, as a rather pushy, rather unapologetic woman. And I thought, where are the role models for me? And here I turned 50 a couple of years ago. And I thought, by the time I'm 50, surely women will be participating equally with men in the workplace. Surely there will be role models for me. And before I really had role models myself, I ended up being a role model. And so I thought, okay, we better write this down. So I invited 11 of my friends that I really respected for their accomplishments and scrappiness. And we each wrote a chapter and we put out the book last year. Well, jokingly, I usually say it means being politically incorrect and unapologetic. You know how it is for women in the workplace. There's a very narrow definition of acceptable behavior and acceptable style. For men, if they're bold and if they're strong-willed, they're considered very great leaders. But women are just bitches. So, maybe I should bleep that out. So I think that women have a very narrow range of acceptable behavior. And so for me, scrappy means not being willing to stay within that small box, but being willing to take risk, being willing to be rejected by people. I mean, there are 6.7 billion people on the planet. Every one of them doesn't have to like you, right? I mean, how many people do you really need to like you to feel good as a human being? You can have millions, maybe billions of people that don't like or approve of you, and you'll still have plenty of friends. So I think scrappy means being willing to be who we are at our core, to be true to ourselves, to be committed to what we care about, to take risks in pursuit of that, and not constantly be seeking the approval of everyone around us, which is something many women and I think many men do as well. Absolutely, because it's very easy for people to figure out, do they need me and want me or not? I mean, if I was like Budweiser beer, everyone can drink it, but why would you? It doesn't taste bad, but it doesn't taste good either. Whereas I'm more like a very strong Cabernet Sauvignon aged in redwood, and not everyone's going to like that. But if that's what you like and that's what you crave, absolutely, they'll be drawn to me. So I think people who want something that's different, that's a strong, clear brand, that's not going to be wimpy, that's going to actually embrace courageously the risks that we're facing as individuals and teams and organizations, I think that's the kind of person that will be drawn to me very clearly, and it's an easy decision when they meet me. And there's 3 key points that everybody can put to use absolutely right now today. And that is to get right out of bed and write down what your goals are. Now, that's something that Harvard has done some research on, people who write down their goals. And in one study I read, they said only 4% of people write down their goals. And yet those people pretty much 100% of the time achieve those goals. And now this is something I've been doing for the last 17 years. I got started, it was a little bit of a hobby, and I've got this huge book of these crazy dreams and goals that I've written down for many years, and most of them have come true. Now, over the years, I've gotten more outlandish and written down more and more ridiculous, crazy, wild goals. But I mean, it's just incredible the things that happen when you write down a goal and you have the power of your mind focusing on that goal. And the next thing is to prioritize. Everything cannot be number one, or nothing is. And, people, we go around through life saying, yeah, I have 100 things to do and they're all number one priority. Well, that's just not true. Most people can't decide, what are the top priorities. And when I talk to people about setting priorities, they say, hey, well, we've got, to choose between our heart, our lungs, and our kidneys. That's like you're asking us to choose between our heart, our lungs, and our kidneys. And I said, absolutely. Your heart is number one because you can live for only 1 minute without your heart. Lungs are number 2 because you got 3 minutes to live without your lungs. And kidneys are number 3 because you can go on dialysis. So get out of bed, write down your goals, put them in priority order, and then align how you spend your time, how you spend your money, how you spend your energy with those goals and priorities. Things will shift immediately. The third one is communication. If you look at some of the research about why people, teams, organizations don't achieve their goals, there's a whole bunch of different reasons. But I think from what I've seen over the past 20 years in business, it boils down to unclear goals. unclear priorities, unclear communication. Communication is real work, but it's often invisible, and we tend to minimize the importance of communication. Or worse yet, people think email is communication. Email is not communication. It's the illusion that communication has occurred. So, when I ask people, well, what is communication? They say, well, talking. Okay, what else? Oh, body language, facial expression, tone of voice. But when they finally run out of ideas, they finally say, oh, yeah, listening. Yeah, listening is the lost communication skill, and something that many of us are suffering from, a tendency to pretend to listen or to talk and then wait to talk again. And in fact, one busy executive, I think, jokingly said, hey, I might look like I'm listening, but I'm just reloading. It seems so trivial. When I talk about listening as a great leadership skill, people are like, what? Listening? I mean, it's so passive. But when I teach this listening in almost every single workshop that I facilitate around the world, and years later, that's the one thing people listen to and remember. And that's the one thing they tell me they're still practicing.